For that story, pretty much a concern of politics, but largely a question of insecurity, and that being castigated by politicians themselves, those ones that are supposed to run the country. And speaking of it being a concern of security, police spokesperson Nyaga Muchiri is here with us this evening. Thank you so much for gracing our set.
Thank you so much.
It's an honor to have you. And so 2 months into your reign as police spokesperson, what would be your report as to the status of security or the country's status of security amidst all these concerns about rising cases on banditry, though historical? Still we have concerns as to petty crimes. We still continue to hear reports, and we're actually constantly reporting on questions of femicide cases and gender-based violence, or gender-based murders as, every other day. And of course, not forgetting the terror attacks that continue to bedevil, the SL areas.
Yeah, I would like to say that thank you very much for welcoming me this evening.
Thank you.
The security situation in this country, I would largely say that there's quite some improvement.
Okay.
And the data that we have confirms quite clearly that we are on a progressive move. We want to rein in on those gangs that you've just described. And I'm very, very certain we are progressing in a good way. And we should own security. It's a collective responsibility for all of us. But I can report from the time that I came in and now, we've made some good progress.
Is there any particular statistic we could ride on?
I've not carried any as of now.
Numbers, okay.
But I would like to say this, for instance, you look at what is happening in northern Kenya. We have schools that have reopened. We have the military that are doing quite a fantastic job.
Right.
We have our security forces that are there day and night.
Okay.
And the issue of cattle theft, for instance, is something that's coming to an end. And I'm very certain that progressively we are making good strides.
Okay.
This is not an event. This is a process. And little by little, we are going to make it. Yeah.
All right, so of course I'll be getting into some bit of the numbers if time would allow shortly, that perhaps would contradict what it is that you say. But before we even get to that, I know this, while telling the world that I'll be having the spokesperson of police, one of the biggest question was, of course, on the Haiti mission. Yeah. And today we speak of, what it is that we have seen the Inspector General speak of as to the concern of the loss of, or perhaps, the scanty information about Benedict Kafiru Kuria.
Yes.
We still do not have clear, information, or perhaps it remains vague. Yes. Any updates so far?
According to the Inspector General, and that's the statement that you're still riding on.
That was yesterday, okay. Yeah.
This young man, this officer, is still missing. But as soon as we get further updates regarding this, there are a lot of talks, there are a lot of negotiation.
Right.
Remember, this is an operation that involves not just the multinational security mission, but also this also involves the Haiti National Police and the Haiti authorities. So there's some negotiations that are going on. There are talks about it, but as soon as we get anything progressive regarding this missing officer, then we'll be able to keep that out.
All right. So when we talk about him missing, are we talking about him missing dead or missing alive?
We've not...
Because there are reports that, of course, he could be dead. Right. But then you see the Kenyans and the family of this officer are riding on what it is that the NPS will tell us. Yes. So is it, what information do you have as of now? Dead or missing dead or missing alive?
In our situation and in most of these other situations, when we talk about someone being dead, we can only say that for sure when we have a body to report about. Okay. As far as this operation is concerned, this officer has been declared missing, and their efforts, like the Inspector General was saying yesterday, to try and locate him and then we'll be able to talk about that at the appropriate time.
All right.
Yes.
But Kenyans challenged this mission for the longest of time.
Sure.
And the country and the government itself and the National Police Service confirmed to us that, they are deploying the police and they are certain that the security of this police is guaranteed, even though we can always not speak with finality, especially when persons are going for missions. Don't you think the NPS has, in a way failed the family of Kafiru? Because then if they're eagerly calling upon the government to perhaps, just offer guidance, tell them what is going on, and they do not get any form of report that is, warm enough to keep them going, what does it mean?
Well, in our situation, remember, these are troops that are engaged in a very delicate operation. We can always have one or two instances where, remember, sometimes in the middle of February, I think around 25th of February, I can confirm here that we lost an officer.
Yes.
This is our war situation. These are troops that have been taken to a country, not for peacekeeping, really, as is the norm. These are troops that are engaged in practical war situations. Contrary
to what it is that, the families are assured by the time these officers are being deployed.
Right.
And I remember the wife of this officer that we buried the other day, speaking of the fact that they had been guaranteed by government that they're releasing their spouses, they're releasing their fathers, they're releasing their brothers, to a mission, but they're being guaranteed that they're going to come back home safe. Would we say that those statements were misplaced?
Like I've just pointed out, let it be known by every Kenyan that as soon as we, as officers, whether in the military, whether in the police, as soon as we carry the items that we carry, these are armaments, anything can happen. We cannot have 100% security situation. Forget about Haiti, even here in this country. Even when you're doing our usual normal duties, anything can happen. We could crash with some criminals that are armed.
Right.
And a situation like that is likely to happen. So when we talk, we cannot talk with finality about a mission from the start to the end.
Okay.
Remember, we have other places in the world where we have troops, where we have the military engaged in all this, trying to stabilize, volatile areas all over the world. Accidents are about to happen.
Okay.
Something is going to go amiss.
Right.
So there's never 100% security situation when you're involved in those operations. All
right. Before you tell us what you would tell the family of Benedict Kafiru Kuria this evening, Kenyans then would want to understand what really is the interest of Kenya in this mission, 12,000 kilometers approximately away from home. What really could be the interest of Kenya amidst this conversation that, of course, Trump, as well adjusted the fundings and all that. Why do we stick? Why do we continue being there? And, of course, we have dots that speak to perhaps a mission that would be considered a failure. After this break, allow us to take a short break.
Thank you so much.
And, of course, come back to that.
Thank you.